Your attention to 7A of the document that Professor Don Huber came last year and gave compelling evidence that the whole ecosystem in human health and survival has been endangered by the use of substances like glyphosate, and our threat of Kari dieback is intimately tied up with that. Hans Europe toxicologist says this study clearly contradicts the predictions of European authorities that glyphosate does not persist in the environment. It is more than time to implement all existing non-chemical alternatives to herbicides. Yet while we continue to ask that you protect us and our families from this onslaught, you continue to hide behind the EPA. So there's a whole lot of evidence there that that's not a safe place to hide behind. Way back at the beginning of this saga, while the
Trish, could I just draw your attention? You've reached the 5 minutes. Can I just get you to summarise?
Yep. I thought you'd give me a minute.
No. That's the 5 minutes. But please just take another minute just to wind up and summarise the remainder of your material.
Right. I was just getting back to when we first started in 1990 in the Devonport weed trials, etc. There was a study that came through from Lincoln that should have really knocked the whole thing on the head, and it showed that one application of Roundup, it took earthworms 2 years to recover from. I have got a correction there, but I'll table that later. So people are saying enough is enough, and if you see through the attachments that I've given there, people in Australia, people in France, and even in New Zealand, there's one site that's just started up in less than a month. It's actually got 56,000 people have joined up to that site. So Auckland needs to go back to the future, and it's simply a whitewash to say that Auckland Council has embarked on a pesticide reduction program when there has been an explosion in the use of toxic chemicals under Auckland Transport's watch. And the proposed reductions will only take us back to still being worse off than what we were before under amalgamation, certainly on the North Shore. So I've put through there Hannah Blackmore's frustrations from the Weed Management Advisory, how she's continued to try to consult, etc., and been turned down repeatedly. So Friends of Sherwood have actually now in the process of seeking a referendum against all cruel and unnecessary poisons from being used in New Zealand. So that if you fail in your duties to protect the public, that at least the people of New Zealand have a chance to be heard. As our elected representatives, you are charged with identifying risks and avoiding them, and it's easy enough to do. Toxic chemicals are an easily identifiable risk and even easier to avoid if you don't listen to the tobacco science of those with vested interest in using them. And it doesn't even have to cost more. In fact, if all the costs were taken into account...
Trish, I might just ask you now to... You've concluded. Right. Thank you very much, because you've given us a whole lot of information to support your comments, so every councillor will have a chance to look at that. What I'd like to do now is just to see if there are questions from councillors that we'll finish with. So we'll start with Councillor Kathy Casey.
Yeah, I think it's a question for the Chief Executive as opposed to Tricia. It's with regard to cemeteries and the use of glyphosate in our cemeteries like Waikimete. That's a regional cemetery, and who is therefore responsible for the weed management process? It's not the local board in that case then, is it? Local boards now have authority to change over.
I don't know. We'll have to get back to you on that.
Because I think the point that Tricia's making is that there are people who visit graves who don't want to be exposed to harmful chemicals, and we should be making it easier for them by saying no.
Thank you, Councillor. The Chief Executive will get back to you on that when he's checked it out. A question from Councillor Wayne Walker.
Sure. I've just got a question that goes to the point that you raised about risk and identifiable risk, and it goes to that US case that involved a contractor, a janitor. Do you think that that has an impact on the contractual relationships and the contracts that Auckland Council has with people that are doing spraying, and that particularly if we know that there are risks, and aside from evidence from the EPA, the Council's aware of medical records of people, that could jeopardise Council's position?
I would certainly think so. With the example of the Monsanto trial that's just concluded, there's 5,000 more cases in the pipeline there, and I think Auckland Council would be well advised to consider banning glyphosate, at least until the EPA has had that review that
Okay.
Eugenie Sage has
Got
spoken
that.
about.
And the other quick question, are you aware of any testing that's being done on glyphosate residues in blood, semen, breast milk, hair, or any other things that council might not or should be aware of?
Definitely, and in fact it's actually contained in this report that the residues have been found all over. 98% of men in Germany test positive for glyphosate, and in fact glyphosate residues have even found in our vaccines. The MMR vaccine in particular has 5 times more than the other vaccines.
Okay. So do you think that council should be looking for such tests?
Definitely,
That's all I need. Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you. Councillor John Watson.
Thank
to
you, Mr
conclude.
Mayor. Thank you, Trish, and it's a very timely appearance given that Monsanto ruling, just to remind us all of how the world's going in terms of glyphosate. My question to you, and you've had a fairly extensive involvement down around Sherwood for some time now, in terms of council's performance in that awareness, public awareness and public safety. I've regularly in the past fielded complaints about spraying taking place without adequate warning and sometimes with people in them, and indeed I'm investigating a complaint currently at Long Bay where a young mother has contacted me, pregnant mother with a young child, who said there was spraying in process with children growing around. My impression is that council is actually more aware than has been the case in the past, thanks to people like Jenny. Is that your impression, Trish, that there is a greater awareness amongst council contractors and sprayers, and especially in light of your experience in the past?
I actually haven't noticed it, and when I get pictures, as I have from the Waikimete Cemetery, and when I see, you know, the vast areas that have been sprayed unnecessary, oversprayed, etc., there's a long way to go. So if there is an improvement, it's certainly not noticeable to me. And I think that the whole problem with the costing of these things, they never take into account the costs on us. Like my $400 for my wee Foxy to go on a drip after being sprayed around in the her favourite pole outside my place. And I wanted to bring Nicole along today to emphasise just what damage it does to people, and there's no recompense, there's no recognition. And these contractors, one of the problems with the hot water system, right from the beginning, it knocked our community efforts to one side. But the problem being that it put contractors on there who were not sufficiently skilled to know where it was necessary and where it wasn't. And you've got to have horses for courses. You've got to have a whole integrated system. And it's the same with the contractors now. If you give them the tool of glyphosate or any other chemical, they will just continue to use it, overuse it, instead of having to think about the best use and the minimal use. And I think it needs to be taken right out of their toolbox. There's no other way. I mean, you can't even predict when the trial's going to come on after the contractor's been there anyway. It's craziness to use it anywhere where children and dogs are likely to be scuffling around. There's no way of knowing until 3 or 4 days later, and it's too late.
Okay.
Too late.
Thank you, Trish.
Thank you, Tricia, and thank you, Nicole. We have a motion of thanks. Maybe if I can ask Councillor Wayne Walker, would you like to move
Yes, please.
that? And Councillor John Watson
Certainly.
to second that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. Carried. Thank you very
And I
much
can
for your
just table
time
these other documents.
and your presentation.
with it,
And we have a copy of your document,
yeah.
electronically and in hard copy.
I feel bad that Nicole has come along.
I
She's
would-
come.
Very, very quick words
It's
to
okay.
speak
Yeah,
about.
well, wait. Sorry, I'm probably in breach of standing orders. I've formally concluded. I'm sorry, Nicole. I was aware that you were there. I was hoping that if you wanted to participate, you might have interrupted early. But now that we've closed that part of the meeting, I'm sorry, I can't allow that further. Okay. Thank you very much for being here. Next item on the agenda is local board input. There is no notification of any such input. Extraordinary items. I've had no extraordinary items raised, and we